Okay, so I'll split this up individually. First, I'll tell you my thoughts on remasters. I think remasters are great. It's a great way to experience old games again in newer, redefined graphics. And also, sometimes remasters can be good because the game can be so old to where it's not as easily accessible. So if they do a remaster of it, and of course, it comes out for the new consoles, people that want to play it, have never played it, can play it now. So I think remasters are not only good for having or being able to play a game again, or being able to play the old game again with graphics, but it makes it more easily accessible, especially if it's a really older game like the Crash games. The first three PS1 games, really old games, them doing a remaster for PS4 makes that easily accessible again.
You know, I appreciate all of the video game machines. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but things are just starting to change. I don't know what channel you have to go to in order just to see gaming that just kind of has like to see gaming that has like an extracurricular push. I don't know if you need to watch Spike TV, BET, Adult Swim at night, MTV, one of these channels. I don't know which VH1. I mean, which channel do you have to go to kind of see like some killer video games come out? I just miss that kind of push. Television is just really not the biggest fan of video games, and you just kind of run out of. I guess they just naturally assume that you have your resources yourselves, but with COVID kind of ending magazine publications, and you essentially just have to have the plug on it, or that's about it. Yeah, remasters are a definite good thing. The HD ports, I'm glad that they're doing this, but I don't want it to be like years from now that I'm excited about a game that came out in 2001 or 1998 or something. I mean, they're going to have to come up with a way of saying, let's take the gameplay and the development style that we had back in 1997 or 2000 and get a team of developers that has studied and like emulated or stimulated that style to be able to conjure it again and be able to actually make games that are as fun as they were on the PS1 and PS2. And that's definitely something I'm looking for, is the ability. I mean, because they tried that with the Tony Hawk series. I mean, a lot of those Tony Hawk games were pretty good, but there haven't been Tony Hawk games since probably about 2006 or so. And even if there have been, they haven't been made nearly as much of a splash. And that's kind of what I want to happen. I don't want 10, 15 years from now, people saying that video games were dope back in like 2003 and 1999. I mean, it needs to transgress to the point where we're saying, yeah, 2018 was a massive year for games, 2022 and that sort of shit. That's kind of the problem I'm having, is just trying to figure out how stuff can materialize that way.
And as for HD ports, I feel like HD ports and remasters, they go hand in hand. Like when we talk about the Crash to Insanity, or we talk about a game that just gets an HD port, I feel like they're very similar to each other. Now as for the HD ports slash other version remasters, I think HD ports can be good, though there's a lot of times where the HD ports of games are very lazy. Sometimes you'll get a nice 1080p HD version of a game. Sometimes you won't have a widescreen option. It'll still be at 4:3. Or with the HD port, sometimes some textures are upscaled and some of them are just still kept at the low quality. A good example of a sort of a lazy HD version with Resident Evil 4 for PS4. All of the cutscenes for Ada's campaign were still in 480i, even though the rest of the game was 1080p. So some HD versions can be good, some eh.
Now, I'm just going to wrap this up with a couple jokes about this situation, but I'm mostly going to do this in like audio format. So, I mean, yeah, look at it like this. The PlayStation has the ability to come back to PS1 and PS2 games and refurbish them, put them out again, and have another kick-ass game to add to the library. And in some circumstances, you have to look at it like, well, I mean, how long can we keep doing that? Because I do think, from like the PlayStation standpoint, that there were a lot of games that new audiences are kind of getting with like new stuff, doctored ideas and identities, is to be able to help out. But the main problem with it is, I mean, you look at it and the developers are just kind of running this stuff just like hand over fist kind of situations. And that is, of course, like a problem because I just don't feel like the necessary. I mean, there's just too many necessary evils in the sense of what's going on, and it just makes for a lot of hodgepodge situations. Like we talked about this in an earlier video, but the previous generation was really not that stellar, and that's kind of the thing. I don't know what happened. Mountain Dew, Taco Bell, Doritos, they're not really supporting this stuff anymore. Xbox has really gotten a couple slaps in the Xbox has really gotten a couple slaps in the face. I don't know where this sort of crap is necessarily going. What happened, Xbox? Why are you doing so terribly? Why is PS4 completely, by more than 4-1, having better library than that now? I don't know why so many people have just abandoned the Xbox One. Where does that come from? It's idiotic. I mean, that's the thing about it. It's like, hey, Xbox 360 was a contender, and now Xbox One, this is a very faulty and kind of crap machine. And I don't know what to do about it. The PS4 has the games, but they keep following these same developer policies that just don't make it interesting. So I mean, the future of video games just happens to be very faulty, and everyone notices it. Everyone's poking fun at it, but we cannot seem to get a foothold on the problem. It's very slippery. It's as slippery as an icicle, and I'm just kind of like, what do you do about that? That's like the whole situation. But we'll get into that.
And just like remasters, I think HD ports of games can be great because it gives the game a chance to be even more successful and sell more, considering that there's way more people playing games now, and gaming is just becoming bigger and bigger by each day, each year. And another reason that HD ports, just like remasters, can be good is, let's say they decided to do an HD release of the first Silent Hill. That would be great because that game is expensive to buy. So that's another reason HD versions are great, because if they re-release a game, don't mess with it, just do an HD version. That's good because it makes it more easily accessible to get that game when it possibly was expensive originally.
I'm starting to feel like video games are becoming too realistic. And I do appreciate like a gripping storyline and also like characters that you care about, but I don't know. I mean, I look at some of the top games for like the PS4, talking about like Red Dead Redemption 2, The Last of Us, Bloodborne, The Witcher Wild Hunt, Fortnite, Uncharted 4. I mean, the thing about most of these games is they're just the same kind of architecture of game almost. And I look at, when I pay attention to like classic games for like the PS1, I mean, you had something different every single time. I mean, you had Gran Turismo, Tekken 4, Mortal Kombat, those games, the Driver series, Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, if I didn't say that, Silent Hill, Final Fantasy, Crash Bandicoot. I mean, all those different types. It just felt like every experience was kind of different, but things are just getting too much in like the action kind of department, and I don't know, I'm just kind of starting to lose interest with that sort of formula. I mean, it doesn't, and it's the same thing with Xbox. I mean, Xbox can't really seem to grasp like exclusives, and over there this is kind of new Halo, new, maybe new Fortnite, new Gears of War, new Call of Duty, new Destiny, those type games, but they just have the problem with just first person shooters. So I'm kind of running out of like ideas as far as how to come up with something better for gaming to do, just because it really does feel like you're supposed to break apart from video games and grow up, and it seems like that's kind of the thing
Seems like video games are just becoming to where it's for like age 10 to like age 25 or something, and after that you're supposed to get like a full-time job, a wife and possibly children, and do whatever, and just kind of have a disconnect from gaming. And I mean, I think that this is my opinion. What I was saying there was my opinion, but I don't know. I mean, there's just been a huge disconnect for me for like the PS4 and Xbox One generation, and it's not. I don't know. I mean, when I play these games, I don't have the same drive to play them as I did like Super Mario World or Banjo-Kazooie or Zelda Ocarina of Time, F-Zero X, those type games, even Grand Theft Auto 3, Max Payne, some of those type games, Devil May Cry, that sort of stuff. I mean, that needs to come back, and I just feel like the context of like realism is becoming much too strong, and it needs to. You don't have to immerse yourself that much. I mean, I'm okay with the video game being fake and not true and that sort of shit, but I don't know. It just is difficult to describe. I mean, obviously, when I get too stretched out, it becomes a lot more opinionated, but that's just the problem. It seems like we're kind of in agreement that the previous several years of gaming is starting to falter, and I don't know necessarily how to revitalize it.